Imagine living with no electricity, no fridge, no water pump, no washing machine. Sounds almost impossible, right? Yet people in the Middle Ages built cooling systems, water systems, and heating systems that can outperform many modern devices, and they ran for centuries without major repairs. Today, we're going to uncover 12 forgotten medieval technologies that could change how you live right now. When we think of the Middle Ages, most of us picture a dark, primitive time, but it was actually full of clever machines and techniques built to run without power. They were elegant, robust, and shockingly practical. These are the technologies that kept villages fed, warm, and working for hundreds of years. If you're looking for more resilience, self-reliance, and low-tech independence, you need to meet these 12 inventions that still work today. Let's start with water. Running water is energy you can always count on. The medieval water wheel is basically the original modular engine. It's simple, repairable, and incredibly useful. Picture a 10-foot oak wheel beside a stream. As the water strikes its paddles, the axle turns a system of gears that can power a millstone to grind grain, a saw to cut lumber, or a giant hammer for metalworking. The most efficient type, the overshot wheel, where water pours over the top, converts almost all the water's downward force into rotation. For a whole village, a single reliable stream and a well-built wheel meant food, shelter, and textiles, all without using a single kilowatt of electricity. There were other variations, too. The Noria was a large wheel that lifted water in clay pots attached to its rim, perfect for irrigation. And the Archimedes screw, when driven by wind or another wheel, could raise water efficiently from a lower level to a higher one. These are the exact same principles behind modern microhydro systems, continuous low-maintenance power that runs day and night as long as the river flows. But what about getting that water to where it was needed? Medieval piping and distribution are often overlooked. While the Romans had their grand aqueducts, medieval towns got creative with hollowed-out oak trunks and fired clay pipes. Workers would bore out the center of a log, join the sections with iron bands, and seal them with pitch. This created entire water networks for cities like Augsburg and Nuremberg. Clay pipes, fired in high-temperature kilns, were surprisingly durable and resistant to frost. The genius here is in the low-tech reliability. There are no motors to burn out, no filters that need constant replacement, and no electronics to fail. A wooden pipe with a simple ring-in pitch joint could last for decades and was easily repairable with basic hand tools. Now, where water-powered work, wind-powered wealth. You've probably seen pictures of tower and post windmills. They harnessed regional breezes to grind grain, press seeds for oil, and even pump water out of flooded fields. These windmills were highly adjustable. The sails could be reefed in a storm or unfurled in a light breeze, and the whole top of the mill, called the cap, could be turned to face the wind. That simple mechanical elegance. In the Netherlands, entire fields of windmills worked together like a massive landscape-scale pump, transforming marshy swamps into fertile farmland. The same idea can be scaled down. A small domestic windmill could mill enough flour for a homestead or drive a pump to water a garden. Heating was another area where medieval builders mastered comfort without electricity. Tile stoves and masonry heaters are true masterpieces of passive heat storage. Imagine a massive, beautiful tiled stove. You feed it a short, hot fire, and the immense thermal mass of the clay and stone inside stores that energy. It then radiates a gentle, even warmth for the next 12 to 24 hours. It's essentially a thermal battery for winter living. Then there was a system inspired by the Roman hypocaust. Medieval engineers would route the hot gases from a fire through brick channels built beneath the floors. This delivered even warmth across huge halls without needing a separate stove in every single room. The core lesson is the same for both systems. Store heat where it will do the most good later, instead of constantly trying to keep all the air in a room hot. But what about keeping things cool? Cooling and food preservation were solved with low-tech refrigeration. Ice cellars were basically subterranean rooms, often dug into the north slope of a hill. Villagers would harvest blocks of ice from frozen lakes in winter, pack them into the cellar, layered with straw for insulation, and the thick stone walls and double doors would keep that ice frozen well into the summer. Just a few feet underground, an earth cellar maintains a near constant temperature of around 8 to 12 degrees Celsius, or 45 to 55 Fahrenheit. This is perfect for storing dairy, root vegetables, and beer. Smokehouses were another multi-purpose marvel. The process of smoking not only cured and flavored meat for long-term storage, but the architecture of the smokehouse itself was designed to capture residual heat, which could then be used to dry other products, like fruits or herbs. The efficiency is amazing. A properly built, tiled stove or smokehouse wastes far less fuel than an open fire and preserves far more food. Food processing, too, was organized around the power of water and wind. A tower windmill with a pair of millstones, a rotating runner stone above a stationary bedstone, could produce enough flour to feed a household for an entire year. And then there's the screw press. This simple machine multiplies human force to press oil from seeds or juice from grapes for wine. A single person could generate tons of pressure just by turning a long lever attached to a threaded shaft. The screw press is a mechanical amplifier. It's slow, controllable, and built from wood and iron that any village blacksmith could make and maintain. Crafts like pottery and metallurgy relied on clever mechanics to reach temperatures we now assume require industrial systems. A heavy stone flywheel on a potter's wheel stores momentum. This means just one good kick from the potter's foot can translate into minutes of smooth, continuous rotation, freeing up their hands to shape the clay. For blacksmithing, large, alternating leather bellows with simple valves would pump a steady stream of oxygen into a forge. This allowed charcoal to burn hot enough to forge clean, strong iron. These aren't just quaint relics. They are robust mechanical systems that turn basic materials into the tools, containers, and fasteners that form the backbone of a self-sufficient life. Of course, preservation wasn't just about heat and cold. It was also about chemistry. Smoking meat over woods like beech or oak doesn't just add flavor. It imparts antimicrobial compounds that dramatically extend its shelf life. And then there's fermentation, making things like sauerkraut, pickles, and aged cheeses uses beneficial bacteria to transform perishable crops into food that not only stores well, but is also packed with nutrients. They cost very little and offer a huge payoff in food resilience. These tools, combined with star charts, allowed sailors to cross vast oceans long before electronics ever existed. Relearning these methods gives you a backup for navigation that relies on knowledge, not on batteries. So, why do these medieval solutions matter so much to us now? A microhydro wheel can provide continuous power for a fraction of the cost of a solar and battery system, provided you have a stream. A tiled stove uses about half the wood of an inefficient open fire and can heat an entire home with just 2 burns a day. An ice cellar, built with just lumber and stone, costs nothing in electricity and drastically reduces food waste. Most importantly, these systems were designed to be understood by the people who used them. A village miller could fix the gears on his mill, and a blacksmith could reforge a broken part. There were no opaque circuit boards or proprietary spare parts you couldn't get. That's what creates true longevity. Now, this isn't about romanticizing the past. Medieval life was harsh, and many of these systems required significant skill and labor. But they also embody an ethic we can learn from: design for local resources, design for maintainability, and design for failures that a community can actually handle. When we look at these 12 techniques: water wheels, piping systems, windmills, tile stoves, ice cellars, smokehouses, screw presses, and more, we see a blueprint for living a more resilient life. So, which of these would you try first? A small stream wheel to power your homestead, an earth cellar for your summer harvest, a beautiful tiled stove that replaces the frantic stacking of firewood with 2 calm burns a day. My advice: try one. Learn how it works, learn how to repair it, and pass that knowledge on. That's how these systems persisted for centuries, through hands-on knowledge and practical pride. These old technologies aren't just relics, they retools for the next crisis and a blueprint for a saner, more sustainable way to live. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more forgotten wisdom. We'll see you in the next one.